Hi, my name is Nick Breeze, and I'm an media artist slash educator slash organizer living and working in Chicago, Illinois. And this is a tutorial slash personal essay video for how to leave Facebook, by which I don't mean how to click the delete your account button, which doesn't exactly delete your account anyways. Facebook uses words like delete and like to mean things that they don't actually mean. This is a tutorial slash essay video for how to leave Facebook in a sort of performative slash activist and slightly glitchy kludgy sort of way. Before I explain how to do that, I'll explain why and why like this. I should start by saying that this was a really hard thing for me to do, by which I don't mean technically. It was just personally difficult. I've been on Facebook for 7 years. It's as long as I've been making glitch art. It's as long as I've been a new media artist, and Facebook's been a big part of my life and practice in a lot of different ways over that time. I'm not one of those folks who think Facebook is an addiction, nor do I agree with the social media Luddites that think social media is distracting us from real life. Social media doesn't replace our pre-existing relationship, it augments them. It helps us keep in touch when we're far away and lets us communicate not only in real time, but also with images and sounds and videos and GIFs. Social media and the web in general make possible relationships that otherwise wouldn't exist. In 1968, one of the internet's founding fathers, J.C.R. Linklater, said with a great deal of foresight, "Life will be happier for the online individual because the people with whom one interacts most strongly will be selected more by commonality of interest and goals than by accidents of proximity." My issue with Facebook is how they've demonstrated time and time again a lack of respect for their users in the interest of prioritizing other interests like those of their advertisers in ways that have had some serious intended and possibly unintended consequences. And this is a long list which has been accumulating for years, but I'll go over some of the major ones. First issue is something called the filter bubble. To some extent, you probably expect your streams to be the accumulation of all the posts made by the folks you follow in more or less the order they were posted in. This is not always the case, and is definitely not the case with Facebook. By default, Facebook filters a lot into and out of your streams based on what its algorithms think you most likely want to see. And common sense says, awesome, why wouldn't I want a catered stream? If the algorithms are working well, then wouldn't I like it? Not exactly. The first problem with common sense here is that it makes the assumption that the algorithm has your best interests in mind, which is not the case. More on that later. And so then there's this issue of the filter bubble. If your algorithm assumes your future interest based on your past activity, you're setting yourself up for what Eli Pariser calls information determinism. Essentially, your feed becomes a kind of ideological bubble that never shows you anything you disagree with or don't already like. And so then it doesn't give you the opportunity to change your mind, to consider other points of view, to learn, to change, to grow. This can get a little heady and I'm oversimplifying here, but you could check out Eli Pariser's TED Talk or some of the links I've posted in the description. And I should note that this isn't unique to Facebook. To some extent, this is true with any account you open online. Another big example is your Google search results. This is why I use DuckDuckGo for search more than anything. My second issue is that Facebook impersonates you to the benefit of its advertisers. Have you ever been scrolling through your feed and noticed something like, Nick Breeze and 7 of your friends likes McDonald's, and wondered, that's weird, I thought Nick was a vegetarian. What's he doing liking McDonald's? Somebody makes a post on Facebook with a link, and you like their post. Facebook then assumes you like what the post links to. So if somebody makes a post about how nasty the new McRib sandwich is, and they link to McDonald's, and you like that post, your friend's feed, unbeknownst to you, will now include your endorsement of McDonald's. Similarly, if you like something from a particular source on Facebook, Facebook will assume you like any future posts from that source. So say you liked a New York Times op-ed on legalizing marijuana, you may, unbeknownst to you, like another New York Times op-ed on criminalizing abortion or whatever. This is why sometimes you might notice deceased friends liking things after they've died. Maybe even worse than recycled likes is the very blurry space between organic and non-organic posts on Facebook. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, organic just means a post that one of your friends makes, and non-organic is something that's paid for, like an ad. So say you make an organic post about how much you like your iPhone. Facebook could then sell that post to Apple so they can use it as an ad, and your friends will notice that post in their feeds sort of get anchored to the top like a sponsored post would. And maybe you're cool with this, and maybe you're not. But the point is that it doesn't matter, because nobody asked for your permission, and nobody bothered to tell you about it. Or they did bother to tell you about it when they told you they'd changed their terms of service, and they technically did ask for your permission when you signed a 9,000 plus word terms of service. And if you're the kind of influencers that charges companies to make promotional posts, Facebook just cut you out of that equation. And even if you're not in the business of making promotional posts, I think if somebody's using your posts as an ad, you should be getting a cut of that. And I'm not just trying to be greedy here. There's some pretty long-term consequences with this. There's a really great book called Who Owns the Future by Jaron Lanier where he describes this in detail, and he also describes what a micropayment system could look like, where users get compensated for the wealth that they generate on social media, which up until now doesn't really exist. YouTube and Google AdSense may be being the kind of exception. Which brings me to my last issue. Facebook implements these things in a really sneaky way. And if we notice, and if we backlash, then they post an apology after the fact and retrofit their site with a sort of opt-out option. But this is never the default, and they never want you to opt out. And these changes are made in such a way as to keep us in the dark. And sometimes years can go by before anybody even noticed Facebook fucked with us. And one of the worst examples of this came out recently. Here's a quote from The Atlantic. For 1 week in January 2012, data scientists skewed what almost 700,000 Facebook users saw when they logged into its service. Some people were shown content with a preponderance of happy and positive words. Some were shown content analyzed as sadder than average. And when the week was over, these manipulated users were more likely to post either especially positive or negative words themselves. This tinkering was just revealed as part of a new study published in the prestigious Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. In short, Facebook just wanted to see if they could control the emotional states of their massive network of guinea pigs. And it turns out they can. For a week in 2012, hundreds of thousands of us were made depressed, and hundreds of thousands of us were made happy. High fives, data scientists. What's next? So I'll admit, I have some pretty radical ideas about what I would like the web to look like, and I realize a lot of this isn't happening anytime soon. But I do appreciate all the awesome shit we have now, so I partake in internet culture. But there's a balance that needs to be met and a line that needs to be drawn. And it really sucks, and pains me to say, that Facebook crossed it. So now I have to leave. And this is how I did that. So Facebook gives you the option to deactivate your account or even delete your account, but keep in mind, anytime you upload anything to the internet, it's being copied over and over again, it's being crawled, it's being scraped. When something goes online, it's virtually impossible to delete it. So when Facebook gives you the option to delete your account, this is a relative term. Also, with something as ubiquitous as Facebook, deleting or deactivating your account means much more than just losing your feed and your information. It means losing all of my albums. It means losing all of my Spotify playlists. It also throws a wrench in a lot of the work that I do. As a new media artist, I produce a lot of work for myself and for clients that involves Facebook apps and Facebook Graph. So I thought about this for a while and decided I wouldn't press the delete my account button. Instead, I'd leave Facebook on my own terms. By manually deleting all of my photos, posts, comments, likes, by untagging myself from everything, by leaving all my groups, etc. Essentially, manually wiping out all of my activity on Facebook, or at least scraping it off the surface. And I've already done all of that with the exception of unfriending my friends, which I'm going to do in a few days. Before I show you how to do this, you should probably back up anything that's important to you on Facebook. If you're like me, you probably got a lot of sentimental moments on there. So if you go to your settings, Facebook actually gives you an option to download a copy of your Facebook data, and you should do this. But in my opinion, this actually leaves out a lot of other important things. So while this download includes all the photos you've posted to Facebook, it doesn't include all the photos your friends have posted and then tagged you in. Which for me was what initially motivated me to get on Facebook and what makes up the majority of my photo history over the last 7 years. At this point in time, Facebook has no easy way to download all the photos you're tagged in, so I wrote a custom script to sort of get that done. So big disclaimer here. This script and all the other scripts I wrote and I'm going to share with you in this video is a sort of brute force hack. It's really dirty and might take some experimentation. That's just the style of this here tutorial as the result of the circumstances Facebook has placed me in. Also keep in mind that Facebook changes their shit all the time with no notice, but I've posted all of these on GitHub as GIFs so you can fork them and make any changes if and when they're necessary. So after you download a copy of your data, go ahead and watch this video where I kind of go through step by step how to hack your way to saving a copy of all the photos that you're tagged in. Another thing I'm going to miss is all of my wall posts. There's a lot of really sentimental stuff people have posted on there, like birthday wishes and other personal things. So I made this other video for how to download a copy of your entire wall. So after I saved all the stuff I wanted to save, I started wiping out all my activity. I started with some of the stuff that Facebook makes easy for you to manually remove. Like I removed all of my information from my About section. I also manually removed all of the apps, except for some of the ones that are connected to other things like Spotify and some of my client apps. Then comes the trickier part. I wanted to delete all of my photos, but I also wanted to untag myself from all the photos my friends have posted. And Facebook doesn't really give you a quick, easy way to do this. So I also wrote a few custom scripts to get that done, which are on the website, and also on this video where I walk through step by step how to do that. I also wrote a script for quickly leaving all of your groups, also documented on the site and in this video. And lastly, a script for deleting all of my activity. That means comments, likes, search results, stuff like that. The video and the site also includes some tips for how to do this a bit more effectively. Remember that this is all kind of experimental. I noticed that if I tried to delete years worth of activity at once, it would crash my browser and not work. But it worked okay if I did a few months at a time, which is still a lot easier than going through it one by one, although admittedly just as sad. So to recap, Facebook gives you a couple different ways to delete your account. This is not one of them. This is an alternative based on a different set of priorities. Like I said before, this is meant to be a kind of performative, activist, and somewhat cathartic process. As of right now, all but my friends list and this post have been removed, and in a few days I'll be unfriending everyone, leaving only this post on my Facebook account. It's sad. I'm afraid of losing touch with friends. I'm afraid of missing out on future activities and posts on Facebook. But I hope you all will find me elsewhere on the internet, as I hope to find you. I've got other accounts. Fuck Facebook.